What's up, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB postseason recap. We have some breaking news about the Angels. We're going to talk about that first, and then obviously Game 7 of the ALCS, and then a preview of the World Series. All of that in today's recap. Don't miss out on these videos. Leave a like and subscribe. We're growing the game of baseball one game at a time. Also, don't forget to save yourself 20 bucks off all of your baseball, football, basketball, hockey, whatever sport you can think of, or concert tickets with code Fuzzy on SeatGeek. And the NBA is back on Underdog Fantasy, so soon we're going to have the World Series, football, NBA all in action. So do not miss out on $100 when you place 5 with code Fuzzy. You also get some free picks. You're welcome. The link's in the description down below. So we actually have some breaking news before we talk about Game 7 of the ALCS. The breaking news is that the Angels are hiring Kurt Suzuki as manager. He spent 16 years in the big leagues. I think his last 2 with the Angels. And then after that, he spent 3 years as a special assistant to Perry Manajan, however you say his name, the GM of the Angels. He was a guy who never struck out. He had stretches of being an above average hitter as a catcher with some decent defense, but overall, he wasn't anything special. But when you play that long in the big leagues, you have a ton of experience. So it's not Albert Pujols, it's not Ron Washington, it's not Torrey Hunter, it's Kurt Suzuki. He's going to really need George Klassen to be a workhorse. These are prospects, the guys I'm about to talk about. Tyler Brenner, who was a first-round pick. I think he was the 2nd overall last year. And Ryan Johnson, he stunk it up last year, so they need him to shake it off. What are the expectations for the Angels heading into this next season? Because they were 4th in home runs, but 25th in runs scored. They were a boom or bust offense. Rendon, by the way, this is some other breaking news. It's been reported that he is still not participating in baseball activities. And also one more breaking update about the Angels. Reed Detmers, he's going back to the rotation. So there's a lot happening in Angelville right now. This is it. The 1v1 on high rise with radars on. If you know that reference, I mean, you're just an OG. But I had no idea that these two teams joined baseball at the exact same time back in 1977. The Blue Jays, they won back-to-back chips in the 90s, and they haven't been back since. The Mariners, they've never won a World Series. So there's a lot on the line right now. Josh Naylor, he's versus his old teammate, and he drove in J-Rod after he doubled. Barger's throw went up the line. Josh Naylor, he's batting .340 with a .970 OPS in these playoffs. Remember, he had a 2030 season, so this is a crazy good walker. He's a free agent after this, but then he like torpedoed himself into a throw. Shane Bieber, his former teammate, said out loud, "What the F are you doing?" There were Guardians, former Guardians that is, everywhere in this clip. Ernie Clement was throwing it. Andres Gimenez was right behind him. Shane Bieber, Josh Naylor. I mean, it felt like 2021 all over again. Although I don't know if Andres was on the team in 2021. Anyways, Daulton Varsho, he just drove in his 8th RBI in 11 games this postseason. He has been awesome. The score is tied at 1-1. J-Rod. This is why Julio Rodriguez's baseball cards are still so expensive, despite the fact that he's always really slow to start a season, then he picks it up. Look at that. I mean, a slider outside that he pulled 425 feet. He's also an insane defender with some of the best sprint speed in baseball. A rare 4.5. I don't know if I can give him 5 tools just yet because the batting average and the chase. We'll talk about that in a second. Shane Bieber gave up 2 earned runs. He had 5 strikeouts, though. Kirby, he was looking so good after allowing that early run, but he was taken out for Brian Wu. We'll get to that in a second because Cal, he just untied it. He has 5 home runs and 8 RBIs in 12 games. And I know that Aaron Judge fans are losing their minds over this stat, but 65 total home runs between the regular season and playoffs is the most ever in American League history. Cal just passed Judge, but again, a lot of Yankees fans are pretty butthurt about it. It's a real stat. Stop it. Brian Wu had a clean 5th and 6th inning. The plan was working to perfection, but then Addison Barger took a walk. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, he singled. Andres Gimenez then bunted to get runners to 2nd and 3rd and staying with. Why was Andres Munoz not out there? Why was it Edward Bizardo? He's in there to face Springer, and remember a few days ago, Springer got nailed in the knee, and this is not a generalization of all of the Mariners fan base, but a lot of Mariners fans, they were cheering that Springer might have gotten hurt because of the whole trash can thing. That is always going to follow Altuve, Springer, Correa, but he just nailed a pitch for one of the clutchest swings in baseball history. Springer hits .375 versus the sinker. He hit .394 on pitches inside and middle. They threw him a middle inside sinker. That was like the most obvious result ever. Springer now has 16 home runs and 34 RBIs his last 54 playoff games. He hit .310 with a 160 OPS plus this year. Like, he never needed those trash cans. He's just an absolute dog. Jeff Hoffman, he hasn't really been utilized as a closer because the Blue Jays either steamroll or lose. Rivas is down. Canzone is down. A brutal, I just feel bad for Dominic Canzone. He was so good in the regular season. He went 3 for 28 in October, and J-Rod with one of the worst at-bats you will ever see. He looked like Last year, Javier Baez, 6 sliders, like 6 consecutive sliders. Not one of them was even remotely close as he strikes out. So for the first time in 32 years, the Blue Jays are headed back to the World Series. And just, this is going to be a mega World Series attendance-wise and viewership-wise. We have country versus country and mega payrolls with a bunch of talent versus mega payrolls with a bunch of talent. Also, I want to showcase this real quick. You could tell that J-Rod was so mad at himself because after the game, reports are saying that this was J-Rod pretty upset.
Having gone as further than any other team in franchise history.
Legacy is no one's really satisfied or happy with this.
Now back to kind of post-game stuff. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won the MVP, the ALCS MVP over George Springer. Everyone's like, how could that happen? Well, Vladdy almost hit 400 and got walked 5 or 6 times, so who knows what he could have done if he didn't get intentionally walked 3 times, hit. Springer, he has that 2017 World Series MVP in his trophy case, so I think he's chilling. Now, we have a breaking update about the Blue Jays. Bo Bichette said as he was getting champagne rained on him that he will be ready. He sprained a ligament in his knee and he re-aggravated it right before the ALCS. If he actually comes back and plays, it's reminding me of Schwarber in 2016 when he tore his MCL and ACL in the beginning of the season. They said that he was out for the rest of the year. He came back. I know this as a Guardians fan, this was just awful. He hit 4-something with the 500 on base, literally became a super soldier. They injected him with that serum, and all of a sudden he was fixed. What if the same happens for Bo Bichette right before becoming a free agent? That would be so sick. Now, without further ado, I want to go in and talk about the preview of the World Series. So we're going to talk about payrolls, offenses, starting pitching, bullpens, defense, all that different stuff. So first off, let's talk about the Blue Jays. They had a $255 million payroll, which was 5th most in MLB behind the Phillies, Yankees, Mets, and obviously the Dodgers, who again we'll talk about in a second. The Blue Jays offense was 11th in home runs, but 3rd in OPS thanks to their #1 batting average and on base skills. They also struck out the 2nd fewest of anyone in Major League Baseball. Their starting rotation, ERA-wise, was not great, but that was before really Shane Bieber and Trey Savage kind of righted the ship. They had a collective 4, almost 4.5 ERA, again, as a collective. The bullpen, oh man, it struggled down the stretch bad. They had a 4 ERA on the season. Now, they've not been good in the postseason either. They've allowed 28 earned runs in 45 innings, again, as relievers. But the defense was the #1 defense in all of Major League Baseball, according to FanGraphs. So let's talk about the Dodgers now. The Dodgers payroll was $350 million. That led everyone. The offense, they had 244 home runs as a team, which was 2nd in baseball behind the Yankees. They were also 2nd OPS and top 10 in batting average. The starting pitching was a whole lot better. They had a 3.69 very nice ERA, which was 5th in Major League Baseball. But those guys have taken huge steps now that they're healthy in this postseason. They're all just firing on every cylinder that you can imagine. The bullpen, same as the Blue Jays, it struggled. They had a 4.3 ERA, and they haven't really been able to do much different in the playoffs. They've been torn up when they've been utilized this postseason. The defense, wow, they were 18th in terms of defensive rating, according to FanGraphs. So the offense, I'm going to give it to the Dodgers by a smidge, just because OPS, I really like it. Starting pitching, it's going to be the Dodgers by far. No shade to Kevin Gausman and the crew. It's just when you can go Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Ohtani with Emmett Sheehan, an absolute destroyer of worlds who might not even start. That's insane. The bullpen, I'm probably going to go with the Jays. It's kind of a mid-off, but again, the Jays have proven to be a tiny bit better these playoffs. Defense, it's obviously the Jays and not even really a question. So the Dodgers got the first 2. The Jays got bullpen and defense, so it's tied 2-2. I'm going to talk about clutch. The Jays, they led the world. They were #1 in batting average with runners in scoring position. So you're thinking, okay, I'm going to give clutch to the Jays. But the Dodgers, they led in slugging with runners in scoring position. So with the 2-2 tie, who do you think has the edge going into the World Series? Do you think that it's going to be powered by batting average and dinking and dunking when it matters the most, or like George Springer, slugging with runners in scoring position? And one more thing I want to talk about super quick. Remember the flight of Shohei when you have, I think his name was John Morosi, he botched a report that Shohei was en route on a plane to Toronto, and that ended up not being right. It actually was Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank, not Shohei at all. So I remember the flight of Shohei. I really thought that Shohei was about to be the new ace, DH, and Prime Minister of Canada, but that all just did not happen. So the fact that we get Dodgers versus Blue Jays, it's going to be cinema. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.